friends are coming in and digging holes everywhere. But the strawberries, as you can see, are producing lots of lovely, juicy fruits. The lettuce is thickening up. As I said, it would be only about 3 or 4 weeks before they were ready. Another week or so, I'd say they'll be ready for pulling. This time of year, everything grows really, really fast. A few of the potatoes are being dug up, but they're still a bit small. They haven't really been thickening up to the size we want them to be, which is egg sized or a little bit bigger. Some of them are still marbles, and that's because even though we've been watering them, the weather's been really dry, so they are probably not quite getting as much water as they need to swell up. Some of the cabbages are hearting up nicely to become good vegetables. Some of them did get quite badly damaged by the aphids, like some of these ones here. We're getting some nice fruits on the grapevine. Definitely going to have a few fruits that'll be decent. Still fighting against the mildew. Been spraying it with water, you can see it's starting to come on a little bit. But the SB Invigorator I was talking about, it actually has a mildewicide. Mildewicide, I'd never really heard that before, but essentially something that kills mildew. So it's pesticide value, nutrient value and mildewicide value. So that would suggest it's not a fungicide, but just specifically a mildewicide. Anyway, we'll give it a go. I'm going to spray that later on today. I think Maybeen was asking what were the potatoes at the back. They're Cares Pink, most of these, and then British Queen. They got their first water, probably since they've been planted. First rain in 11 weeks. 12 weeks nearly was this week and a little bit of last week, so they're starting to look a little bit greener and a little bit happier as a result. I've weeded these a couple of times to keep the weeds out of them. Still a few of the bigger weeds, and I earthed them up. This pathway was clean last week, the week before. It kind of looks like autumn, but it's nothing got to do with autumn. It's actually the fact that the leaves have been falling off because it's been so dry around here. These are like a convolvulus or a morning glory. They're called hypomoea, and it's been picking these out. I think in the last video you saw them germinated. These are going to be a little climbing annual plant with really pretty flowers, pinks and blues. Trailing lobelia, chard, brassicas of all sorts, pansies, alyssum, cosmos, aubergines. We didn't think we'd have many of these. They're going to be planted soon. They're going to be planted in with the tomatoes. Basil, petunias, some more. These are cauliflower. More lettuce to go into the tunnel when they're finished. French marigolds. A few of the last remaining pelargoniums. So this track here in the wildflower walkway has been looking like it's almost ready for hay. These grasses here have the seed heads on them, or the flower heads will be followed by seed heads, and that's very distinctive of perennial ryegrass type. And what's happened to all of this area? We haven't seen much of Ferdy, but I can guarantee you that Ferdy and friends have been basking in the sunshine, which we had up till a couple of days ago. And they've been flattening our lovely wildflower grass, but that's what you should do with long grass, is lie in it and bask and enjoy the weather. We have some hybridized poppies. These are ones that will be crossbreed between the ordinary red poppy, the field poppy, and the opium poppy. These will be a cross between those two. This lawn area beside the canteen, we cut 2 circles and a moon shape or a crescent shape into it. Just really to leave some area for the clover and the buttercups and various different things that might be in this, and they would be good for the pollinators such as bees and insects that pollinate, to feed them some nectar. Soggy nips. Beautiful red valerian. The wallflowers were looking really ropey, so Anne decided one day to go up and get a wheelbarrow and pull them all out. It was time for the summer bedding anyway, so we planted the canna lilies and the pink and red pelargoniums on this side, and we were watering them. They got a good water now since, with some heavy showers, badly needed. And now we're starting on this side. So now we've got clover. Does anyone remember this one? From a few videos back, biodiversity video. It's called Black Medic. And some lovely coloured grasses, meadow grasses. Lots of clover, and bees love the clover when the weather is good enough for them to come out and pollinate. It's a little bit chilly here today. Thistles, which will be in lovely purple colour soon. Houses here, various different meadow grasses, daisies. This is all the evidence we have of Ferdy and friends. They come up here and bask and flatten the grass. Having a great time. This weather has been great for weeding with a hoe, with the oscillating hoe, this one here, because the dry ground seems to allow you to slice through the weeds quite easily, and the weeds dry off very quickly, rather than rerouting if the ground was wet. If the atmosphere was wet, or if the weather was wet, or it was misty or damp, scuffling weeds with a oscillating hoe or any sort of a hoe is not quite as successful as when you've got dry ground. It's really easy to slice through the weeds. So I did say in the last video that I would be I wasn't too worried about getting these weeds out from the potatoes. I did catch a couple of the stems, and I'm starting now to try and earth them up slightly, just in case I did catch some of the potato tubers as I went through it. But this is the bed of the Duke of York, and they're just starting to come up, and it definitely needs some water. Don't normally like watering potatoes too much. You kind of hope the Irish weather will be enough for them, but in this case, because we've had 9 weeks without rain, I think it is at this stage, they're just going to be marbles if we don't pull, or if we don't water a little bit. I'm just starting the next bed now. These ones here, which are home guard, they're an earlier potato, a second early I think. They are further ahead and I'm starting to pull the weeds out from among those. I'm finding where the tuber is, and then what I do is I get the hoe in beside that and I work my way out from it, and that way it's easy to take the weeds out without damaging the foliage of the potato or the tubers around the base. So we'll see how I get on. We've been planting the cucumbers and the tomatoes. This variety is Moneymaker. Bit by bit over the last week and a half. Actually, some of them are in probably 2 weeks. And I've connected the automatic drip irrigation to them, so that makes it a little bit easier. As you probably remember, some of you from last year, we have the area covered with the Mypex or the Plantex woven material on the ground, and these plants are sitting directly into the soil. This is just a rim rather than a full pot, as you can see, and the rim basically makes the Mypex neat, but it also, if you need to water or feed, it catches the water and keeps it all in place. So it makes a neat job of it. Last year, when we did this, we had all of the varieties of plants color coded with the pots because we had colored pots. So this year, orange is for cucumber. Moneymaker tomatoes will be the lime green. I suppose when I go to do the Gardener's Delight tomatoes, I'll use purple or pink or something like that, and then the peppers and the aubergines will be another colour. I know that we certainly had various different colours. So what I was going to do is show you how I tie up these tomatoes. I'm going to set up one, show you how to tie the knot on the bottom and the top. Now you probably know that these tomatoes are quite delicate. I mentioned in one of the other videos, but there's over 90% of the plant is actually water, so they're quite delicate. What I'm doing first of all is to loop the string around the plant, and what I do is tie a single knot, pull it in, leave it very loose. You can see that, very loose, and then tie again, so it becomes a loose double knot. The reason why is because the plant is going to get wider as it grows, the trunk is going to get thicker, but the bottom leaf or two will actually hold that from sliding up. Some people, they bury the string under the plant as their plant weight, and that's a good idea too, but this works very well for us. Loop it over. I'm tall enough to loop it over, and then you hold it this way, pull it through there, and then that means you can These tomatoes were a little bit hungry going in. We had watered them well before the bank holiday weekend, but we couldn't come in over the bank holiday weekend, and some of them got quite dry. And as a result, when we started to water them again, they had been a little bit distressed, and that stops them from taking nutrients up because of the dryness, and it takes a while for them to recover, and can cause some kind of long-term effects sometimes. But in this particular case, I think they'll be okay. If you look at the top of the tomato plants, they're actually greening up really well, and I have actually fed them as they went into the ground. So one of the things that I'm doing as I'm planting them is to side shoot, and this here is a leaf, this here is the stem, and at the axil of every single leaf there will be a side shoot, and this side shoot needs to be removed that way, bend it sideways. Same down here with this one, break it sideways and it should come out, and this one here. And then it's left without a side shoot. Now, there's a chance that another one can come from here, but generally if you get it out clean, that's the end of the side shoots to this point. And the next one's, there's one just starting there. I could pull that out now, but it's probably better to leave it a little bit bigger, because if I leave it a bit bigger, it's easier to get it out. The cucumbers were the first to go in a couple of weeks ago, and they're doing quite well. We have some cucumbers forming on them. The fruits doing quite well. Maybe the end of next week we'll be picking the first cucumbers off these. There's a nice one there as well. We do have one problem with them, and with everything in this glass house from last year and from some of the overwintered plants. Let's see if we can see now. I don't know whether you can see that happening, but we've got white fly flying around them. We've got a problem with white fly, and the white fly will land on the leaves and suck the sap from the plant, leaving some of these little marks where they're sucking, the mottled marks, and they'll weaken the plant. But one of the things that they will do, which will make it even worse, is they'll cause a sooty kind of mouldy deposit on the plants. And how they do that is they secrete a sugary substance onto the leaves, and that sugary substance promotes the growth of a black sooty mould, and it makes the plants look very sick indeed. So I definitely need to spray these with something, these plants, to get rid of the white fly. We have had a biological control before called Incarcia, which is a tiny little wasp, a non-stinging wasp, but a wasp, a member of the wasp family, and that will be a parasite of the white fly. But what it essentially does is lay its eggs into the eggs on the back of the leaves of the white fly, and instead of the white fly hatching, the wasp hatches, and that keeps them under control and keeps them in small numbers on the plants. That has worked very effectively for a long time, but last year, for the first time ever, when we grew the tomatoes in here and the cucumbers, we started to get excessive amounts of white fly, and we did spray with SB Invigorator, which is the soapy substance I explained about. That soapy substance will kill a lot of the white fly and keep them at bay, but you do have to spray very regularly, and it's quite difficult to do that if the weather is sunny, unless I come in at about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, or stay till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. This kind of weather today would be ideal for one spraying, and maybe I should do that while I'm doing the grapevine, and I think I probably will in the afternoon, seeing as it's a little bit dull. Got some aubergines peppers here. I'm going to plant the aubergines on this side here. Sorry, the peppers and the aubergines here, and the tomatoes and the cucumbers are there. Cucumbers being the fastest to get to the top, and the tomatoes following fairly quickly behind. The aubergines are lower, and the peppers are lower again. And the sun, this is south over here, so they will get sunshine here, and so will the tomatoes and so will the cucumbers because of the staging up. Last year we had it the other way around, and it depends on how sunny it is, of course, because sometimes you need a little bit of shading, but at least I can control some shading by adding it if I need to, if there's a lot of sunshine. But last year, when it was dull, I suppose it was a little bit dark for some of the plants. So we've changed it around. We're going to do it the other way this year. I'm going to start planting some here. So the aubergines are going in here, and the peppers into here. So you've seen me do this before, but in my dagger style, I'm going to dig the hole like this. This is something we use for all of the plants. So this is a purple pot, obviously, because it's I suppose purple for the purple aubergine fruits. And we place them around the plant and sink them into the ground. And what that does is allows an area to water the plant if we need to do excess watering. It will have automatic irrigation sitting in like this as well, and dripping it in around it. But it also neatens up the cut of the Mypex, because the Mypex this Plantex or Mypex or woven fabric, it can fray at the edges as it is doing. I'm not sure whether you can see that here. And that starts to fray more and more. By putting one of these in place, when it sinks down, as you can see over here, it neatens and tidies up the area there. It allows us to feed them directly into this as well, and look after the plant. It makes the whole lot look very neat. So that's it. Getting softer as I move along. The area up here at the top near to the door is a little bit more compacted because we tend to walk over it a little bit more. So that plant will probably, if it's the same as last year, the plants up here will struggle a little bit compared to the rest of them. This is one way. I probably should have done this the last time. Put that in there, sit this in, push the soil around, push it down, and then get the rest of the soil around. A lot of these vegetables don't mind being planted a little bit deep. In fact, it holds them a little bit more sturdy, and it allows them to make a little bit more root. So that's good. Makes it a quick job. Just jam them into the hole. Through there, pick this up, put the soil in around it, push this down, twist it a bit, gather up the rest of the soil and tuck it in. The plants will need water. I did water the ground a little bit more a little bit a couple of days ago, but it's dried up very, very quickly. Stops it from running all over the place. It allows the water to sink deep, and if the water sinks deep, then the roots will go deep and make a better plant, bigger plant, a stronger plant, and produce more fruit as a result. So I've still got the pink rims and the green rims left. I think I'm going to use the pinks for the Gardener's Delight tomatoes, and I'm going to use these for the peppers, the dark green ones. So something you should consider if you want to be efficient in your work and get a lot more done in a day is to divide up the jobs. What I did here while digging both these was I dug the holes for every plant first, and then I go back and I plant the plant separately. That makes a difference of maybe 20 or 30 seconds per plant. And if you have hundreds or thousands of plants to plant, that makes a massive difference to what you get done in a day. Or if there were two people working, one person digs the holes and the other person comes behind planting the plants. It's kind of production line efficiency, and it's not rocket science. It's not something that is really clever. It's just something that sometimes people don't really think of until they are forced into a way of thinking that says, how can I get more done in a day? So that's something that's worth considering when you're trying to get a lot done, or when you get a job, or when you have to get a lot done and you don't have a lot of time. So that's it. All of them planted, give them a water, give this a sweep off, and then connect up this irrigation pipe, which is a drip system. So when it's turned on, a small amount of water will drip out of this and run down and in around the base of the plant. Very effective that it waters the plant over maybe a couple of hours. So you just stick that in there.